Let's go. Hey, Dan. I'm waiting on Pedro. I know he said he was coming, but I am jamming. I just have to go live. I know he's either running late or he might not show up. I don't know. He didn't tell me he wasn't showing up, and I assumed he knew. But either that or he fell asleep, or the air quality in New York is so bad that he passed out. That might be it as well. So I'm not sure. But I'm hoping he's going to show up. How's everyone's night going? What's going on, man? Is the air quality better in Canada than it is in New York right now? Stadium? I'm sure it is. You guys breathe in maple syrup and like free healthcare. So good. I had an interesting conversation earlier that might turn into a major change for the better. Waiting on some good news later this week. Is that like job? It sounds like a job conversation. We're adults. I know I can read the language. It's like some sort of relocation, job situation, money situation. Did you win something? That'd be cool. Relocation. Is it south or north? You're in the middle, so don't jinx it. But up or down? Oh yeah, it's gotten way worse than it was here. It's gotta be 30 cigarettes a night. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. East into the that sounds expensive, cost of living wise. But fair enough. If all goes well, congrats. I'm be excited. I'm gonna poke the Pedro, see if he's coming. You coming, or am I doing this alone again? Should I relay something to him? Anybody want to say anything to him? Dan says he's here. Dan says he's here, so you should be too. That'll get him. For sure. If not, I'm just going to roll credits and go, because we got stuff to talk about. And yeah, we got to talk about the Apple event. Hope you're ready for that, because it's a doozy. We got to talk about that. It's important. I am very happy my wife is home. I am very independent when it comes down to like, and for those who didn't know, my wife was out of town. She was on vacation for, her mom flew down here to the Dallas area, and then they drove out to Crystal Bridges out in like Bentonville. It's a big, huge museum, absolutely phenomenal. I've never even heard of it. That's an interesting like story over dinner. But all in all, it's she was gone for 5+ days, and now she's back today, and it's nice. And the only complaint I would have for not having her, although I did miss her, is I do pretty well with the kids. I let them kind of run amok, stay up late because it's summer vacation. But one of the things is that my dogs completely go out of sync, right? Like their animals have like they're very specific to like a timeline, what time dinner is, what time bedtime is, specific routine. And she wasn't here. It completely broke routine. It broke bedtime. It broke all skin because I'm a night owl. Like I stay up no matter what. So, I'm up till 2, 3 a.m. sometimes during the week. And sure enough, they were mad because usually she goes to bed before me, and some of them stay in with her. Out of my 3 dogs, 1 or 2 might stay in there, and then one will come out here with me. But then that one will sleep on the couch. But because no one else was in the house, it was a constant, like, if I'd get up and do anything, they'd freak out. And so like they go and follow. So they would never settle. Like they had to be like underfoot the entire time. And I don't think we haven't had a moment where she was gone and I was there. She's always here. If I go, I'm usually the one that goes on a trip. So it was interesting. But yeah, based on all senses, space dogs know when you're close to getting home. Her being gone probably. Oh, totally. But they're very in sync as well, because every day, even when she wasn't here and wasn't coming home, around the time that she comes home from work, 2 of my dogs, my youngest, my Corgi, and my oldest, my Pom, would immediately gravitate towards the patio door in the back and lay on the ground and wait and look out the back door, waiting for her to come home. Because that's the rhythm. She comes home at 5, 6 o'clock ish, and but they should never came. So some would go down and they were like angry, like you could tell that they were like agitated. So every little like creak outside set them off, and it was driving me crazy. So now that she's home, what's nice is the dogs have settled. They're like, mom's home, and now they're not underfoot. Like I can actually get up and go somewhere without them like following me everywhere. So all right, so we're gonna start. We're gonna start this off and let's just go, because we got stuff to talk about. I got to talk about that Apple event. That Apple event is like, to me, was absolutely like crazy town. So let's go. Let's go. Everyone, welcome to the Mid-Geek Crisis, episode 214. It is the beginning of summer. It is post-Memorial Day. Even though I had an episode last week, it was just me smoking a cigar. Doesn't count, right? And today was supposed to be an episode. I don't know if Pedro's going to join us. He might not. If he doesn't, that's okay. I got stuff to talk about. Plenty of news, plenty of stuff to talk about, plenty of me to rant about. And all in all, we've got the beginning of games, the beginning of tech. All of the WWDC happened. That's the big Apple event. And normally I don't talk about Apple things unless someone brings it up in chat or wants me to talk about it, because they know that I worked for the company for many years and I've got a background on it. But that all said, this is one of those scenarios. Best tweet I saw was a person coming. Yeah, no, for sure. He might. He just might. He's the stinger for this episode for sure. But yeah, you're right. I'm gonna be talking about Apple, the Appleverse. Probably some more Tears of the Kingdom, maybe not. I did watch Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse yesterday. Fantastic movie. But one thing, just a topic to kind of start the stream off, just because pre-show we were talking about, Canada. We were talking about air quality in New York, kind of the apocalyptic pictures that are coming out of New York City, the air, everything looks like New Vegas. Everything looks like a Fallout screenshot, which is absolutely nuts. And is the voice of reason of going, why is this needed? But is it cool? Yeah, well, I mean, you could we could just paste that. I can just leave this comment up because that's his entire thought process. But to be fair, I did have a conversation about the headset, and I wouldn't say he was agreeing with me, but he definitely saw some of the things that I was saying. Looks like Blade Runner 2049 Las Vegas. That's right. When he goes into Las Vegas, that's true. That's exactly that orange kind of gas. everywhere. Um, so just kind of start off a topic real quick. Is it am I the only one that's realizing or noticing that the kind of, I don't want to say newer generation, right? That's weird. The Z Gen or Gen Z or whatever, that's kind of silly to say because I don't, they're awesome. The new gen is dealing with way more stuff and all the fallout that we had to deal with. Young people today, right. Have you noticed that they're like the what's popular with this newer generation is vibes. Is kind of something that I'm noticing, like the vibe. Like I don't know about you, but I'm a big lo-fi listener now. Like I constantly watch it on YouTube. I constantly have the channel. I constantly have it going in the background. It's my music of choice lately. It's rare for me to put on an album because sometimes I just need that, like, I need the mood to kind of settle down, to chill, to kind of like the day has been so heavy on me. It really got really was heavy. And right, so here we go. Lo-fi hip hop, lo-fi video game remixes, and there's tons of channels, tons of live channels on YouTube about this. And which brings me to kind of like, I guess, my first game related story, which I think is interesting, is that one, a lot of indie games have that feel, right? Like there's a constant vibe, that constant feel of like, we need a chill. Everything has to have like a chill vibe. There's a lot of popular indie games that are just all about the feeling of the game, the not so much the gameplay, but like the aesthetics and like the mood that it makes you feel, the music and the ambiance of the game. Dan, really, you didn't know that's it? And you don't you have music? You've put music up on YouTube before, right? Which is interesting to me that you didn't know it was a thing. It's just like, I wouldn't say it's procedurally generated. There's definitely lo-fi artists out there, but almost all of it is kind of constantly become a how do I put it? They're all usually like royalty free. Like I feel like none of these artists are really making, no one's buying a lo-fi album. They're just like, these artists are creating these lo-fi tracks and these tunes and whatever else just to put them on these streams. And I don't think they're getting any revenue for it, but I don't think they care, right? Like I don't know how I feel about that. But that said, though, it's all about the vibes, the mood, the feeling, the aesthetic, I listened to a Disney lo-fi album. Yeah, right. Like it's all about the tone. It's all about bringing you down, letting you study, letting you concentrate. And what was interesting to me is Minecraft just had a new update yesterday. They released a new update, and they introduced a biome in it. Let me share my screen here, which I think was interesting. Let's share that. Boom. All right. So in the newest update, they added a chilled cherry blossom biome. So it's essentially like this, like signs. Here we go. Trails and Tales is also known as the 1.20 update, introducing the cherry blossoms biome, new bookshelves, and signs for cozy cottage aesthetics. The archaeology professes camels, a new creature named Sniffer. It has like a whole sleepy, chill, peaceful biome, which is completely interesting to me on a game that kind of the initial starting point or the initial point of it was like the survival aspect, the creepers, the mine during the day, enemies come out at night, attack you. This is obviously something that is hitting a specific generation, a specific aesthetic. I can't even say, I don't even want to say it's generational, right? Because here I am about to be 42. And like I stated earlier, my music choice as of late has been like that lo-fi, that feel, that like that chill aspect, because the day is hard. I deal with the kids, I deal with the work, whatever, and I need that like droning sound just to like bring me down. And so my thing at night now is like, I'll make my coffee or whatever. Yes, I still drink coffee to calm me down. That's weird. But I'll make coffee, and then if my wife goes to bed, sometimes I'll just turn on a lo-fi station and sit in the living room and like read, which is kind of interesting. I just like, I could be playing a video game, but instead sometimes I have to do that. So now we're getting lo-fi and moods and chills and vibes within a video game. I don't know how you feel. I don't know. Am I the only one? Obviously not. In chat, I'm seeing a lot of people are all about that lo-fi and that hip hop and the. Uh, it, yes, you're absolutely right. It is. I'm drinking coffee right now. This is my coffee. So, yeah. Anywho, I thought that was a cool story. I saw that and I was like, oh man, Minecraft is already kind of a game that people will sometimes turn on. They don't turn on the survival aspect. They just kind of go in for the explorer aspect, the creative mode, and they just mine and they like look for stuff and they build and they craft, and it's just all about the like intricacies of doing something. So now you've added a biome that's like cherry blossoms and like chill and all of that. So that's an interesting thing to add now to Minecraft, which is already a game that was meant to not be high action. So cool. Anywho, that's first thing out of the way. I saw that story hit it. Yeah. Also, Spider-Verse. I'll kind of run into that a little bit now. I saw it yesterday. I've gone on my movie rant and the cost of movies as of late, especially post-COVID. I feel like movie theaters in general have been like, instead of finding a way to lure people back in, they're almost making it harder for people to go to the movies anymore. I mean, that's just me, my mentality towards it. Movie tickets have gone up in price. Movie theaters are doing weird assigned seating, not like prime luxury seating, which they've had, but like now they're doing even higher dollar seating. Just all sorts of weird things that they think that people want, when in reality we just want lower cost tickets, lower cost food, and then we'll go and spend money. Like I would rather, if you cut your ticket prices, I would go to the theater more, but you keep raising them, which means that now you're making me wait for streaming, which is funny because here's a movie like the Super Mario movie that was set to break all sorts of animated records, and they were like, let's put it on streaming now. Like it's out on stream, you can buy it. I bought it like 3 weeks ago. So that's interesting to me that you had an animated movie of the summer. You really didn't have any competition until this Friday, which was the Spider-Verse. And you decided not to leave it in theaters to just keep making that residual money. It is still in theaters. You can still watch it. There's some theaters still playing, but why would you when you can just go and buy it? Like it's $25, $30, I think, total. That's it. But that's still the cost of maybe 1 or 2 tickets, and you can have your whole family stand at your, in your room and watch it. There's nothing wrong with assigned seating. That's not what I'm getting at. What is it? The AMC, I think, decided to do like these like legacy member or gold member or whatever prime assigned seatings where they're like, they cost more, but you get, they basically block out all the best seats and like all the middle seats, all the middle row, whatever, for these higher tier tickets, and all the lower tier tickets, basically like concert tickets is what they're doing. The best seats are more expensive than the other ones, which is already weird to me. Yeah. It's the tiered seating. And you don't have the risk of bringing back bed bugs from some weird wild family that's set in seats for you. Yeah. No, again, assigned seating is cool and all. I since they did that, you never have to worry about like getting to the theater and saving a seat to get to the concession stand and then find your seat, make sure no one took it. Like those days are over, and I'm glad they are. There was no reason why we didn't have assigned seating for a long time. At the box office, you could have just bought a ticket and the ticket number would have been printed out on there even before smartphones. That should have been a thing for years, but it wasn't. So I digress. My point is assigned seating is fine. It's the tiered assigned seating now. That's tiered pricing hasn't come to Cinemark, but it is a thing. I mean, back in I could say that too. I remember regular tickets and student tickets were a thing, but they realized that everyone's a student. So why would they make a discount for what the majority of their clientele was, which was kids and people under the age of 18? So now you don't even get student tickets. It's now seniors and children and adults, right? And the children and adult ones are only like $1 difference or $1.50 a difference or whatever. I would expect to pay more for a Game 7 of the World Series than Tuesday afternoon in the middle of July, but that doesn't belong to movies. I mean, I miss the good old days of matinee pricing during the day. And so a lot of movie theaters are doing matinee prices now because they're trying to so some movie theaters are realizing, hey, we need to bring over, and that's what I'm doing, right? So I'm now officially going to the movies on Tuesdays because my local theater that I go to has $5 tickets on Tuesdays. No membership required. No, like I think AMC requires you to be like a Stubs member to get $5 tickets on Tuesdays, which is silly because you have to pay for that membership. You pay for the membership just to pay less. Anyway, my point is it was the only way that I could afford this because it was $15 for tickets for my 3 kids, which if I had paid any other way, it would have been like $40 for tickets or $50 for tickets plus the food. And the theater that I went to happened to have really good priced food. I bought, I think it was $32 plus tip for 3 meals, which is way cheaper because I think a bucket of popcorn and a large Coke at AMC is like $20. So again, it's a theater called Strike and Reel. It's a big like movie theater slash bowling alley slash giant arcade. And I guess they realized that they make so much money with all the arcade and like the rope swing thing and the mini golf and whatever else that the movie theater they don't have to charge that much for it. I don't know how they can do it, but Tuesdays are fine and the food is fine. Like the kids meals, which you think would be like little, I'm the third kid, 2 kids and me. Anywho, you would think kid meals were like tiny portions. No, that they like my kid ordered a kid's pepperoni pizza and it was like the size of an adult personal pan pepperoni pizza, and they gave him a side of fries because it comes with the side and it comes with a drink for $9. I was like, that's amazing. $9. Like you can't buy a hot dog for $9 at an AMC. Yeah. That's getting common, right? Like, I think you're losing money if you don't have other reasons for having people there. If you can have more reasons for a person to spend money at your establishment, a bowling alley, whatever the cost of the bowling alley, the investment was, I'm sure they can return that by them doing bowling and then watching a movie, or, buying beer and playing a game. They'll probably make more in profit than they have to pay the studios for the movie. It's weird, but I think they're realizing that these all-in-one entertainment locations and venues are making more money than these movie theaters, because why? It's the same reason why movie theaters started selling food, right? They realized, well, we're leaving money on the table. People go to dinner and then they come to the movie. Why don't we just serve them dinner? And that way they can just make their whole night here, right? You would think so, but mine is like that. Like I couldn't, if you didn't tell me that there wasn't a bowling alley, I wouldn't know. It's in the back. And also this is Texas, so we have huge plots of land. It's like a ginormous building. Like it's way in the back. I don't think I've even walked back there to see it. I just know that people are bowling back there. Probably these movies close to 3 hours long. Not many people have time to watch. Yeah, no, sure, for sure. But I think it's a way to like do things like make it a day, make it an event location, as opposed to just going to the movies. If they can squeeze $5 more out of you for something, I think it's a win for them, right? Because the cost of a ticket, the majority of that goes to the studio. Everything after the ticket cost is for the house. And if they spend at concession, which is the reason why popcorn and Coke is $20 nowadays, is because it's the only way they can turn a profit. It's the way it's been at the movie theater for a while. Like even when I worked at the movie theater, it's concession was what made the money. Box office did not make money for the theater. It's people in seats with popcorn in their mouth. That's what made money. And yes, capitalism, baby, is killing us for sure. That's the way it works. But I digress. I saw a Across Spider-Verse, and it was fantastic. I don't want to talk about spoilers. I don't want to talk about what was in the movie. If you were a fan of the first one, the second one knocked it out of the park even greater, because the first one felt like an experiment where they had very minute story strings to pull from. They gave you glimpses of these other Spider-Men, but they just figured, hey, these because you might have read the comic book of, Spider-Man Noir or Spider-Ham or Penny Parker, the anime one. All of these different versions of Spider-Man you've seen because you've probably read the comics or read the parodies or whatever the case may be. So we're not going to elaborate. And in this one, they kind of went full on, like, here are all the different takes on Spider-Man, from animated to live action to cartoons to whatever media. It is a version of Spider-Man that exists in this universe, and they made a story that is powerful. That's the best way to put it. The first 15, 20 minutes of the movie start off with Gwen and telling you what's Gwen been doing in the year and a half or so that she's been gone since you last saw her, and all the different animation styles and the story and the heart wrenching like emotion. I have, I'm gonna be honest with you, I did multiple tear ups in this movie. Very powerful, a lot of family. Oh, Adam, of course I did. I'm a big old baby, but also like I've always been that way when it comes down to like movies. It's one of the reasons why I can enjoy movies as opposed to critiquing everything. When I go to a movie theater or when I sit down and watch a movie, I really turn off everything and really invest myself in the movie. And I have to feel attached to it, or if not, I'm not going to like it. And Spider-Man in general has always been a good like thing to get me attached. And this particular is the same way. Like it's a movie that like as soon as you sit down, I really just like want to be in the world and be part of it. And sure enough, like the tropes, the story that's being told, the first, like I said, 20 minutes of that movie like had me like ready to go. Like I knew this was going to be an emotional roller coaster, and it was. And for those who don't know, this is a part 1 of 2. So you are left with a giant cliffhanger, and it is good. So good. Go watch it. Go spend the money. The animation alone, this has got to be one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. Period. No hyperbole, nothing. It is a movie that hooks you in. Yep, you said it right there. Hooks me at the level. It really attached itself emotionally, especially if you grew up in a Latin environment, or you're a minority or a family or that kind of thing. I mean, everyone can find something to be attached with in this movie, but specifically there are certain things in this movie that really hit home, or can really like really attach you, really get you. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can say. I don't want to say anymore. Miles Morales has been great. They really, like, if you watch the first one and then watch the second one, they really aged him up just a bit. They made him a little taller. His face is a little longer. He has gotten older, a year and a half or so. The animation style is phenomenal. I think my favorite part, without spoilers or anything, is the fact that just like the last one, even more so this one, every single Spider-Man has its own style, coloring, sound, effects, everything. There's a Mumbai Spider-Man. It's from a specific story where it's Indian New York. It's basically Mumbai Hatton. It's a giant like it's an Indian Spider-Man, and he's got Bollywood style and all of it's just wonderful. And the music and the sound and the colors and everything about that was just perfect. But you have these other Spider-Men women from other universes show up, and so their style stays with them, but they are interacting in a world that doesn't match them. Or they fight a villain from a black and white, very paper-esque pencil drawing, and that villain is everything he does is in that style. Everything is just that way. And the same goes for Miles Morales, and his style is still that very street art, that very graffiti, very vibrant, neon, darks, reds, and that's been great. And I can't speak more. I want to see it again, just because I need to like really look at everything. It's so much, so fast, such a roller coaster that there's so much nuance, especially if you're a fan of Spider-Man in general and you know about the different versions of Spider-Man. You will enjoy seeing the little Easter eggs all over. I mean, there's so many that I can only imagine there's already a wiki page with someone just sitting there like writing down this version showed up, this version showed up. Here's this one from this what if story or whatever. And they're all there. I mean, we saw Andrew Garfield Spider-Man clips. We saw I mean, it's all sorts of stuff. I like when an emotional turn walk over. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's again, no spoilers. There's a whole scene with her and her father, and when the anger is there, like the whole background is a specific shade, and then when the shoe drops, when the moment everything just all of a sudden like the clarity happens, and all the art from going from chaos goes very sharp and very brilliant, and very white, and very enlightening, and it's so much story is being told just by the art style that I cannot emphasize enough that the The entire like art team, the art direction is genius. It deserves all the accolades, all the awards that it's going to get. It needs it. The music was used perfectly all the way around. I'm excited for the next one. The next one comes out 2024, and this might be the best Spider-Man movie. Period. There is like the Disney Spider-Man movies are fine. The Disney Sony ones with I can't remember, oh boy, the new one, No Way Out, No Way Home, or those are great, but these are better. These are better. I think these are better without question. These are better. So go watch it. If you get a chance, go catch a matinee at your local theater if you can. The Tom Holland movies, they're great, but I have problems with the Tom Holland Spider-Man from the very beginning. But I digress. It's another version of Spider-Man, right? So we have many of them in the Spider-Verse, and that's what this is all about. All right, so let's what else here? There's a lot of things to talk about. Again, I will get to the Apple event, but that's going to probably be the next half of the show, right? But I will say that tomorrow we do have around 1 o'clock, I think 1:30, I think it's starting. No, I think 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Central. We start the Summer Games Fest, which is the replacement for E3, which is Jeff Knightley, same guy who does the Video Game Awards, kind of came in and sniped E3 because he's had a good relationship with all these publishers and whatnot, that he's basically said, I'm going to throw my own E3 with blackjack and hookers. And sure enough, that's what he did. He created his own online thing, and everyone canceled E3 enough that E3 is now gone. Like, this is now the third year with no E3, and even though it was supposed to be back this year, all of the companies pulled out enough that E3 had to go away. And here we are, prime E3 time, usually early June, and Jeff Knightley is doing this virtual Summer Game Fest thing. And we have Xbox. Xbox is a showcase tomorrow, so we will see what they have to provide for us. I don't think I can stream. I've got a lot of things at work, so I can't kind of go on live. But I will maybe I'll do some sort of thing in the afternoon and talk about it. But I don't know. Silk Song, hopefully. Everything else is just like the end of the cake for sure. No, I mean, again, I'm excited for this. Go check it out. Just have it in the background or whatever. It's usually many publishers. As much as Jeff Knightley kind of like irritates me and his like, I got to sell and sponsor and make money off of this. I do feel that his intentions are good. I feel like his intentions for the video game industry are good. I want to believe that his direction of what he's wanting for video game journalism and media is good. But that said, though, yeah, maybe a Twitter rant. That might be one. I might hop on Twitter and do that as I'm watching it. Yeah. So, anywho, all right. Let's talk Apple here. We're gonna get a little deep here. For those who don't know, I'm a big Apple guy. I was, am, is, were, still am, whatever. My point is I have a PC. This is a big game. I have a monitor this freaking big that's running on a gaming PC. But I am still a Apple guy at heart. I have a MacBook Pro M1. I have an Apple Watch Ultra. I have an iPhone 14 Pro Max. My wife has an Apple, my phone, Apple Watch. My kids, my oldest has an Apple Watch, has his phone because we don't want to give him a phone yet, and they have iPads. This household has been Apple for a long time, and just to preface this, and again, I will say I am a bit biased. Not only because of the praise I'm saying it, Apple in general was a good job for me. I loved working for them, and they also provided me with something that no other company could have, I think. They provided me with a level of healthcare that no other company could have ever given me, which allowed my son, when he was born, to be in the NICU for 4 months and me not pay a single cent. Right. So like that's hard to say, but their benefits package and their benefits allowing me to be away from work and my FMLA for many months, as I was every day going to the NICU to see if my son would even survive, who is now 13, is because Yeah. So Apple treats you like you're Canadian. Yeah, man. Like honestly, that's not even um that's not even no as the kids say, as the youths say it, no cap. For sure. Like that's the way it was. It was the year was 2010, and I was working at Apple for 2 years then, and my kid was born, and he was born at 22 weeks or 24 weeks, and he survived, and he's here. He's 13 years old now. And because of that, because of the healthcare that they provided and all of that, he's here. So I associate Apple with all of that because it was a time when I was working at Apple, and all of the managers and all of the benefits package and all of that worked with me in a way that I would have never gotten with any other company. I would never would have gotten that level of understanding. That said, though, I left Apple in 2018, and I left on good terms, but the company had been changing, not in a bad way, but it just wasn't matching what I needed, and I moved on. But I digress. That means that doesn't mean that I didn't like the product, and I worked with the product on a daily basis. I helped. I remember during the Apple launch for the Apple Watch, I was a big deal, a big push. I was part of a department that allowed kind of that push. I got to touch products sometimes early. It was a very fun job, and yeah, that's good. Which character cover? Yeah, no, man. I mean, it's weird that my corporation and my job had to be the one that way instead of my government, right? Or just the healthcare system in general. But I can guarantee you that not everyone in a situation like this would have survived. I know, no, I know. Just trust me. You're preaching to the choir, sir. I that's what I want. But I digress. Apple's good to me. So with that in mind, the mentality that I have with Apple is that I usually tend to like the things that they release, and I tend to find the silver lining on things because I can usually understand where they're coming from. That said, though, I am also hypercritical about them, especially since I've left the company. I do uh, have to hold them with a higher standard. So I have gone on many rants with friends and colleagues to bitch and moan about what Apple is doing in the state of their like products and why are they releasing this? It makes no sense. Why are they releasing at this price point? And yes, the elephant in the room is the Apple Vision Pro. I'm going to get to that. That said, many things were announced. WWDC is always kind of like the big Christmas moment for any Apple fan. It is the mid-year development cycle. It is when developers are allowed to come on campus. Now it's on campus. It used to be San Francisco and at a convention, right? They used to have a convention for it. Now WWDC is part of Apple, and so they hold it at the spaceship now, and they hold developers and they have classes and they work one-on-one with developers from Apple to work on their products and the APIs and all of that and how to make their applications and whatever else work with the product and back and forth. So it's a good time. It's also where Apple releases all their new stuff, or at least their vision for the next year, their roadmap, and their new version of the operating system gets announced. So the beta comes out that day. The beta for iOS 17 came out, for iPad OS 17, for Apple Watch 10, 9, 10, 10. I think it's 10. So it's the 10th year. They've made some changes on that. And I'm not running it yet on here, but I am running the newest developer beta on the 14 here. And they announced the new Mac operating system, right? So we now have Sonoma. That's the code name. And Apple's always had a they have a code name for it, and the code name has kind of become almost synonymous with the public. It used to be kind of an internal thing, like Jaguar, Puma, Snow Leopard, Leopard. They used to be big cats, and then after that, they went to a new thing. Oh no, sir, no cracks. But yeah, with that in mind, with that in mind, all the different developer code names and whatnot have now become public. So they announced a new public and new code name, and it's Sonoma. What has changed, right? So like, unless you're an Apple person, none of it really matters to you. If you're not following along with Apple, it's the quality of life improvement, the little things. If you are a tech journalist that straddles both sides of the fence of like Android and Apple and Microsoft and Apple, you will note that a lot of the things that get announced that on an Apple phone or Apple update or whatever that gets everyone excited, you always have to get someone on the other side peeing into the punch bowl going, why are you excited for this? Microsoft or Android or whatever has had this for years. And you're not wrong. But we don't live on that side of the fence. And without me kind of peeing in your pool on the other side, I will say that Android has done lots of things early, and that doesn't mean that they did it the best. That's just kind of the best way to put it without me throwing in that no salt here. I like Android. There's a lot of things Android does that I, to this day, I still think Apple should do. But I am also a fan of the walled garden, only because of a security standpoint. I have seen what Android security is, or lack thereof. So either way, there is no like for like. If whatever environment you're in, you can do the same thing on both phones nowadays. Google has slowly gone more walled garden as well with their own first party like products and their methodology. They're also realizing that, hey, we need to keep customer retention. We need to be able to bring them in. That's why the Pixel line exists now. That's why Android is now kind of doing a yearly thing as well. That's why they're trying to wrangle up all of these hardware developers to make sure that hardware is on par with everyone else, because they were tired of the fragmentation, right? Like there is no reason why you should be buying a brand new flagship phone from a competitor or from a manufacturer and it's not running the newest version of the operating system. And to this day, that still happens, though, because Samsung will get the newest version of Android. And when they get it, they have to kind of run it through their thing, get it working on their phone. And so sometimes it takes weeks, months. At one point, it would take almost 6 to 8 months, maybe a year. Or maybe you bought a phone a year ago and you only get one more update of Android before it no longer gets any updates at all. Because Google can't provide you that update because it's a Samsung phone. So then you have to wait for Samsung to give it to you. So then Samsung won't give you more than one update. While the counter side, security updates and operating system updates, Apple will usually support a phone for about 6 years or so, at least now. I think the iPhone 6S was the longest one. I think that one was supported for a total of 8 years, something like that, 6 years, 7 years. It was ridiculous, the amount of time that they got software updates and new features and whatever else, which is, I mean, some people see a phone as a phone and don't need to upgrade every year. So that's totally understandable. There's no reason, but you also shouldn't be denied maybe security updates and maybe a couple new features here and there on software side when it's just software. Yeah, I used to have to wait for both Samsung. Yeah, right. And so at one point, if you were an Android user and if you were a Samsung and a Verizon, your manufacturer and your carrier had to okay the update before you could get it. And that was annoying because if you bought the phone directly from Samsung as an unlocked phone, you can download the update. But if it was a Samsung phone, it was Samsung branded. It was a Samsung branded Verizon phone. Because of the branding through Verizon, the firmware had to go from Google to Samsung, from Samsung to Verizon, then Verizon would then release it and push it out to the phones, which is really annoying. So those days have slowly started diminishing, especially now that we've got the remember when AT&T was the only carrier that allowed you to make a call and use an app and saying, yeah, right, because of that there was certain things in the way the network worked, because you could use the 4G and the LTE at the exact same time, where Verizon couldn't. If Verizon, as soon as you were using the LTE stream, the radio and it couldn't switch over. I mean, it's a whole thing. CDMA. I used to take phone calls and do engineering reports and all that for that kind of stuff, and it was always funny to me. But yeah, those days are gone now. We've evolved. That said, though, you're like I stated, sometimes the features on the phone that come out we're just playing catch up, or it's the opposite, right? And again, I bring this up all the time. Android phones had front-facing cameras for many years. For years and years and years, it had front-facing cameras. Heck, I've got a Samsung phone right here. I've got some Galaxy that I use for development purposes. It's an older one, but you've got a front-facing camera right there. But Google to this day still doesn't have a built-in firmware level FaceTime equivalent. They still don't have an iMessage equivalent. They've tried over and over and over again from I think there's a whole website dedicated to keeping track of how many messaging apps they've had and how many they've sunsetted constantly, how many they've renamed, how many, because they can't They can't do it. It's silly to me that they can't do it. So it's always funny to me that if I buy a Samsung phone and you bought an LG, which LG doesn't make them anymore, or you bought a Sony, or you bought a OnePlus or whatever, that I can't just like dial your phone number and just video call you because you've got an Android phone. It's absolutely asinine to me that here's a device that's had cameras front facing way before Apple did, and you can't build a feature in your operating system that has it built in without you having to download a third-party app, without having to download. Are you on Spotify? Are you on Skype? I'm on Skype. Are you on Messenger? Oh, I'm on WhatsApp. Can you download this? Download that. Yeah, killedbygoogle.com. Thank you. That's there's a whole running tally of the things at Google, and that's the thing that infuriates me. So, with that being said, again, Android is exciting because it's new, it's fresh, it's different every time. But it's almost like if you're not paying attention, it feels like if you adopt any of their features, you might lose that feature, right? Like you maybe you enjoy, maybe you're that one person out there that really liked Google Plus as a social media network. Well, it's gone now. Like you can't use it. So hopefully you didn't invest any time and effort into that. I mean, they've had, what is it, Duo and Allo, I think were the two other ones. I remember when those were a big one where they were like, oh, you can like, it would be like FaceTime and you'd show up and you can like, they would show up on your screen and you could accept it or not, but you could see their face and they were like knocking on the doors, like looking through a peephole. It's just that I get it. The innovation is there, but the teams aren't talking to each other. The fact that you had Google Hangouts and it also had SMS in the same app, like you would have an Android SMS app and the Google Hangout one, and your SMS messages would show up on both of them. And I'm like, wait, why are you doing that? Why do you have two different applications on your phone that do the exact same thing? Why do you have cross competition? That's weird. Like that's so sloppy. And I get it. People are like, I want choice. But when you have so much choice, you have too many people not using the right thing or not using the same thing. And then it's hard to communicate. So again, once Apple added the front-facing camera, the first thing they did is they made sure that everyone with a front-facing camera had FaceTime. It was built in, baked into your phone. They made it your Apple ID. They made it your phone number. They had a whole background service. And FaceTime is, without me kind of spilling the entirety of how FaceTime and iMessage works, is your number is literally in your hardware ID on your device, on your iPhone, is tied to something on the server on a server side on Apple, which allows everything to kind of communicate and see each other, which is why that turns that bubble blue, it turns that bubble green. So yeah, that's kind of a big deal. And some people go, I don't understand why is that such a big deal? It really is, because as soon as iMessage came about, sending a text message or a picture meant no compression. You were sending using data as opposed to the SMS. Sending long text messages didn't mean that it got sent 3 or 4, where Android was like, if you sent a long message to an Android user, it would split it up by being 1 of 2, 2 of 2, 3 of, etc. FaceTime is easy, even boomers. And yeah, I mean, everyone, so now it's become synonymous, right? At one point you were like, hey, can you Skype me? Now it's like, hey, can you FaceTime me? Whether you use FaceTime or not, now people say Zoom or whatever else, because now we've got more competition since COVID. But my point is like, it has become one of the most synonymous like camera methodologies. And so updates like that happen all the time, where iPhone or Apple will release a feature, but the way they market it is so innovative that it's like, wait a minute, this feature's been on Google for years, but why did I not know about it? It's because it's either hidden behind a menu, or it's in Google's experimental session or a settings, or you have to turn on developer mode. It's weird. I don't understand it, but my point is like, that's usually the case. There's always like people bashing the update. That said, though, a lot of new updates, not new features. I can't even go into it. The iOS 17 from 16 to 17 it's not as feature heavy, but the phone app and the messages app and a bunch of different things got these quality of life things that are just absolutely cool. A good example is you can now do, which I didn't know was possible. You can screen a phone call basically. So like back in the day, for us Gen X / early millennials, if you had answer machines at home, someone would call your answer machine, and your answer machine would pick up, and you would hear the message, and then you could hear them talking. And if it was someone you wanted, you can immediately go, oh, and you pick up the phone and go, hey, I'm here. You can now do that on your phone, which I don't know how that works. So now they can be leaving a voicemail, and the phone will transcribe it live on your phone. And as you're reading it, if it's someone that you did want to talk to, then you can go, oh, wait, and you hit pick up, and it'll pick up the phone. I don't know how that works on a cell phone. I thought voicemail is carrier based. So the moment voicemail picked up, the phone call was no longer there. It was sitting on a voicemail box somewhere else. But maybe they're doing something else. I don't know. It does, but not all of them do. It is a feature of the phone, not a feature of Pixel. And if it is a feature of Pixel, from my understanding and from what I've read from all the other tech pundits, this is not something that Android has done this way. So maybe I'm wrong, but from my understanding is they didn't, they haven't implemented it this way. I don't know. I do know that this is something that Apple is talking to carriers at directly to get the feature up and running. So that is something that I know that Android tends not to do very often. They don't tend to talk to carriers to get all the carriers ready to go. So they announce a feature, and then carriers have to kind of either turn it on or not. I think Google had, what's that other, not SMS, but there is another technology for text messaging that has to be carrier enabled for it to work. But if everyone kind of switched to that, then it would be like iMessage for everyone, even iPhone, but iPhone doesn't support it. Google had the in-person screening their calls. Please state your name, reason for call. Yeah, but yeah, so that's weird because that's telling you that they're screening your call. Now, I mean, I guess soon as all iPhones have it, then everyone will know you're screening a call, right? But now, this just sounds like a normal voicemail. It's the only difference is it's essentially an answer machine. It's not saying, hey, this person is screening calls. No, this is like, hey, you've reached Joe at, I can't come to the phone right now. Please leave your name and number. And as soon as they start talking, essentially the phone can hear them, and it's basically transcribing it live. And then you can go, oh, wait, and hit pick up the call, which I'm wondering if this is all phone based, where it's like your phone is picking up the call, but then faking a voicemail. Maybe that would be the best way to put it. Maybe the phone is actually answering the call in the background, but not letting you listen to it. The phone is transcribing the voicemail. I don't know. I don't know how it's working. I don't know if it's carrier side or phone side or whatever, but it seems pretty neat to me. I didn't know that was possible, that you could like listen to the voicemail. From my understanding, it's still carrier based. Like it's still a box on the carrier, but your phone can still connect to it and you can record your message and then send it and then leave your voicemail. But my understanding, the voicemail box is essentially still carrier based. They really should. But anywho, that's that. The features for iPad were great. Very small ones, very minute. Again, they really ran through the first like 20 minutes of this like 2-hour event very quickly. They announced a new MacBook Air 15-inch, which is cool. Apparently people wanted that. I'm a Pro user, so I have a 16, so I guess it's heavier than theirs. I don't know. What else? They, new features for the Apple Watch, new features for iPad, new features for Sonoma, lots of cool widgets and things that you can do now on the operating system, which that I guess Windows users could use since Windows Vista. So, but again, that wasn't the big thing. Let's talk about the big thing here. And I know we've waited long enough. I'm gonna talk about this. Apple announced something that they've been talking about for years. The rumor mill has been going for many years that Apple was making a VR headset. They're making a VR headset. Yes, and the widgets fade into the background. I think you're going to be able to turn that off in the settings. I haven't downloaded Sonoma. I'm going to do it tonight and install it and play around with it and see what I like. I have to say about the fumble-based iPad earlier this year, they had a breath of air. Yeah, for sure. That base iPad was such a weird one. That again, I've been critical about that. Like it's such a dumb product. That base level cheap iPad is not the cheapest iPad. It's absolutely annoying. This headset has been, everyone's kind of known that it's coming out. Like everyone has seen kind of like little bits and pieces of it in the SDK. Developers have known that it's coming out, but it's been the worst kept secret at Apple for years. And it was finally announced. So the Apple Vision Pro, I'm going to go ahead and bring a little bit of it here. Let's bring up the app. I'm gonna, yeah, here's introducing you, because I think that's the best way to do it. So let's watch this video. It's a introduction real quick, and I will pause it and we'll talk about it as we go, because I think it's the only way to really do this. Or yeah, we'll just. Headset.
Introducing Apple Vision Pro. The era of spatial computing is here.
All right, so I'm going to stop there. So again, if you are a fan of Apple, but can also listen to their like marketing BS, because even though I love them, I know they're marketing BS. They love to use terms, right? Retina is a term. They really like to. Looks like dead people's person's eyes. Yes, but that's also because it's not actually their eyes. It's the screen. It's another screen showing you their eyes. It's weird. It is weird tech. I'm going to talk about that. But that said, the spatial computing is what they're called. You will not hear. I'm not going to play this whole thing. It's 9 minutes, and it's probably too much to air on here. To just kind of bits and pieces of it. But yes, she is not looking through it, Dan. That is not a transparent headset. It is two screens. It has a OLED screen, a really, really high, super mini pixel OLED display on the inside, and the outside, it is, your eyes will come in and out of focus depending on what you see. If you are in a product where your eyes aren't, you're basically not looking out into the world, then your eyes, and you'll see colors there. If you are now able to look through and see the AR environment, basically actually see through it, the cameras will project that to you. You see outside, and then the outside person will see your eyes, which is all being scanned and projected using IR sensors and cameras all around your optical socket here. And it is showing you your eyes. Your eyes are being projected out to a screen on the front. Absolutely weird looking. That is a weird rendition of it, but from people that actually got to use it, it didn't look as dead-eyed as this, for sure.
When you put on Apple Vision Pro, you see your world and everything in it. Your favorite apps
You
live
will
right
not
in front
hear
of
the
you.
term
But
virtual
now,
reality
they're
once.
in your space.
They're not going to use the term
is Vision
because
OS,
they are not calling
Apple's
it
first
a VR
ever
headset.
spatial operating system. It's familiar, yet groundbreaking.
All right, so right then and there, that's another thing that I want to touch base on, is this is not an add-on device, which is interesting. This is 100% a new product. This is a new product line. This is running its own operating system. This is not running iOS. This is not running, this is not paired or tethered to a phone or a watch or an iPad or a MacBook or anything. This has an M2 processor in it. This has their new, what is it, R1, I think is what they're calling it, processor, which is handling all of the algorithmic cameras and features and IR and InSync, and it's a super co-processor, which they've been doing a lot. They've like the watch has a co-processor, does a lot of the side handling, all that stuff, offloading all of that. Basically, the M2 is just raw power. And if you haven't been paying attention to Apple and it's like computational, like jump in ARM power delivery, you really should go read on what they're doing. The M1 processor, when it came out a year and a half ago, 2 years now, was revolutionary in the sense that, first off, it trounced anything Qualcomm or any other ARM processing company was doing. And the power delivery was insane. The fact that you could have a processor that's an ARM-based processor that was beating or exceeding computational power of Intel's higher end i7 and i9 processors with a quarter of the power pull. I mean, you were talking about 17 watts of power, 20 watts, 40 watts of power versus like 115 watts of power pulling from from the i7 to do the exact same amount, which means for battery life, it's huge, right? So you've got a MacBook. A MacBook was rated at like 17 hours battery life on the M1. It's ridiculous amount. This is running poorly, but for all it's running at all. What am I looking at here? I got, for some reason I can't click that link. Isaac, let me pull up the link in a second, and I will show it. For some reason, the chat, it doesn't allow you to click the link. I got to pull up my actual Twitter, my Twitch stream here. Don't know why it does that. Anyway, my point is it's kind of incredible that they're doing that. The power delivery is great. So this is good for a headset because it's doing a lot. That said, though, I have read reports that's only about 2.5 hours to 3 hours of battery life on this thing. But even then, for what it's doing, it's something pretty incredible.
You navigate with your eyes. Simply tap to select, flick to scroll, and use your voice to dictate.
It runs a little more into it.
It's like magic.
Yeah, it's weird what they're saying there.
Apps have dimension.
Yeah, but
react to light,
throttle, depending on what you're doing,
and cast shadows.
But 2 hours is not the max.
Even though these spatial experiences are happening inside Vision Pro, it looks, sounds, and feels like they are physically there. Foundational to Apple Vision Pro is that you're not isolated from other people. When someone else is in the room, you can see them, and they can see you. Because you're not limited by a display, apps live in your space.
All right. So a lot of marketing terms there, a lot of like, oh, this is new, this is different. None of this is new and different, right? If you have an Oculus or you've used any VR headset, a lot of this stuff it's nothing new. One of the biggest features that everyone is talking about, right? Like everyone at that's actually played around with this thing is talking about is that the tracking is second to none. There's been no other company that has done this eye tracking like this. MKBHD's video, if you go watch his like first look, he is never someone that likes to use the term magic, is what he said. And right, by the way, those reports it's 2 hours at full tilt, from my understanding. It's not 2 hours just on basic usage. They haven't really released the full numbers on basic usage, from my understanding. Yeah, for the eye tracking, so that's a big one, right? So that you're already hitting there. So the eye tracking is so precise, the amount of read that it is minute. You're not having to force it or lead it. You can't. So if you look at an icon, wherever your eye is physically focusing on, the screen makes the screen sharper there, almost like a depth of field, but not really. It's a way for it to also save on power and push maybe refresh rate. Like that part of the screen will be high refresh rate versus everything else in the peripheral won't be high, which means that it can drop the power usage a bit more there. It's weird how it's doing that, but also you can look at a toolbar, look at a specific small button in the operating system, and it knows you're doing that. And then once you look at it, the way you touch it or grab it, since there's no physical controls, is you just kind of go. And it's like that, and it grabs it. You want to grab a window, you just kind of look at the edge of the window and grab it and pull. It's mind-boggling from what everyone is saying. I haven't used it, obviously, so I can't speak for it, but multiple videos that I watched many videos after this because I wanted to see what everyone's kind of idea, and they are all very positive things. A lot of them are pretty much saying this. Look, for the base usage of this headset, pictures and all of that, there's headsets that can do this. Yeah, and it's super high, no motion or no ghosting. It's at least 90 to 120 hertz. MKBHD said it might be about 120 is what he felt. I trust his eyes more than others. Some others said 90. I'm saying it's 120 just because I trust his eyes more than anybody else. So right. So Dan, that's right. So you talked about it earlier. One of the things that you mentioned here is that they actually pointed out specifically, because the eye tracking is so magical, so specific, that could be exploited, right? Because the machine itself is reading where you're looking at. So what would happen if like ads would look at that? They would want that data. They would be like, "What did you look at our icon? Did you look at our picture for longer than anyone else? Were you looking at our picture? That means you really wanted our product. It interests you. We're going to target this ad now at you." So apparently the entire eye tracking is a separate layer within the operating system that is kept kind of a secure enclave on all of their other Apple products. It is not being pushed out. No one else can see it except the phone and the device. It is kept on device, and device only. Is not being shared by anything else. That's important because, again, since you're not clicking it, right? So every time you click on an ad, you go, crap, I clicked on it. All of a sudden you see that ad multiple times. Or sometimes the algorithm is pretty smart that if you click on an ad and you go, no, and you close it immediately, you don't get any more ads on it because it knows that you accidentally clicked on it. But if you linger for a specific amount of time, it works. There's also, if you're not familiar with advertising and the way things work, is there are ad pixels, single pixels on a page that will, the longer it sits there, those are tracking you. It's absolutely like sneaky and horrible, and I freaking hate it. So there are plugins and all that to block all of those like ad pixels, just single pixels that basically sit there, and the longer that pixel is active, it knows that you're sitting on this page. That's how it knows that you looked at that long enough, not just because you sat there, because it sat on the screen long enough. So it's nuts. But my point is on a per eye thing, being able to track that movement, that's craziness. NVIDIA has a thing like that, multi-res shading, so stuff in the center of the screen is well defined. Yep, and they're doing that, but of course it's using like the entirety power of the RTX core to kind of do that. So that's cool. Yeah, it's like DLSS with like eye tracking, so that way you're playing a game and it can push the high frame rate, high whatever, right here in the middle of the screen, but everything else will kind of be lower until you focus on it. So that's kind of cool. I mean, that's a good way of doing things nowadays, but really depends. If your screen isn't up to snuff, if you're not running G-Sync, if you're not running high refresh rate, it's going to cause ghosting and all sorts of stuff. So for sure, everything has to be in sync, from the hardware to the software to the manufacturer of everything in the software. And that's where Apple excels, right? Apple is software, hardware, to bare metal. They create the hardware, they create the software, and everything in line is kind of there, which is why things work a little more fluid that way. Yeah, it is micro OLED, so it is insane. They said 4K on a postage size stamp, so I think 64. Yes, it is absolutely nuts. It's like, you're right. It's like 64 pixels per the pixel size of an iPhone. Because again, it has to be that small so you don't get any screen door, because it's like right here, right? So when you're that close, the pixels have to be even smaller to be able to push that resolution and hide it well. So again, I mean, I could go on for hours talking about the little minuteness of this product, but I want to talk about the benefits of it. So yes, all of this
action and
photos and video, and again, this one, you can go watch multiple recaps on this one, but one of the cool features that they had was that it's got a 3D camera photo mode, which we've had for a while. But think about it this way. Essentially, you could put those on, which I don't know why you would have this on like your kid's birthday or whatever. But let's say, whatever case may be, in whatever weird dystopian future we're living in now, that's acceptable. Because Google Glass wasn't, but apparently this will be, because this is an Apple product. Of course it's acceptable. You're rocking the new Vision Pros. Of course, you're cool. My point is, you put these on and you hit a button and it captures the environment. And essentially what it does is you can then play that back and then kind of walk around this like weird Minority Report like scene. Like essentially you're recording the crime scene or the moment, that event, that birthday party. So 3 years down the road, you basically sit down on the couch and turn that on. All of a sudden, boom, the entire room, you're back in this room because it took the picture of everything around you, and you can like walk around and look at the cake and look at them blowing out the camera and the blowing out the picture from this picture. It's nuts. It's weird. I guess it's cool because you can like, you're gonna like, what were you wearing that day? What was on the table that day? And the camera picks all that up, so you can go right back to that moment and go, oh yeah, I had that. I was wearing those shoes, or I was. Well, what did you have in your hand? All of that is captured because it's using that same kind of 3D stereoscopic high res camera, like the what is it, the Insta360 camera and all of that. So essentially, it's just capturing the entire room. Nuts, crazy. Like 20 plus cameras on this thing. I think it is, or 15 or 20 cameras all around the front perimeter, 2 in the front, 2 or 4 facing down, a few facing up, side, some inside of the camera, inside of the eyes, etc. Crazy. So that's video and pictures. Entertainment wise, it does exactly everything like everything else does, right? Like if you can watch videos on a big screen, it looks like you're sitting in a movie theater, whatever the case may be. For work, so this is, again, it is like a MacBook. It is powered by an M2, so they showed like you sitting there and working on like office documents and whatnot, because you can see through. You can actually look at your keyboard and still type and pull up screens and whatnot. And I have the Nreal headset that can do that because it's transparent, and it's all right. I couldn't sit there and work on them, but I occasionally do put them on at work because they are prescription, and I plug them into my work headset and I get an extra screen and I can still type. So it does work, but maybe the Apple one will be better. I don't know. That's cool. But this leads me to my second part of the Apple environment and the Apple ecosystem, and why this is kind of important, and maybe going to sound like a little rant here, but I think this is important. One, I'll talk about the price in a second, but an Apple headset, an Apple ecosystem, an Apple device like this is going to be big for this type of technology. It'll benefit everyone. It'll benefit Meta. It'll benefit Vive. It'll benefit with a big screen, all the other ones that are out there that are making headsets now. This is good for business for them, and bad, right? One, the price point is making it so that everyone will want one. But let me talk about the ecosystem here for a second. When you buy an Oculus Rift, a Quest, a Quest 2, the Quest 3 coming out, the Quest Pro, you are now having to move over to another ecosystem. So that means that if I want to buy a game or an application, I have to buy it on the Oculus storefront. That is not the way Apple works, and it hasn't been for many years. If you buy Instagram, well, it's free, but if I download it on one application, I own it on everything that supports it. If I want to download it for Apple TV, if I want to download it for whatever the case may be, it's there. It's part of your app library. If I buy a game for iPad, if I purchase, a specific skin or whatever on this game on my iPad, I want to play it on my phone. I want to play it on my Apple TV. I want to play it on my Mac, because the Mac, the M1, is the same processor, so that all the games work. And then you can use a controller. It all works in tandem. That's the same thing. This headset's going to do that without question. So you could buy a version of a game on iOS or whatever, or Mac, and it's going to have, when, if there's a VR version of it, or an Oculus, a augmented reality version of it, it'll work. It'll be there, unless they have a separate SKU of a game, right? Which they might do, because developers might do that. My point is for basic 2D applications, for things like Office, maybe, you'll be able to just download it and it'll just work. It's not another ecosystem. And because it's the same ecosystem as Apple, you don't have to download a third-party app on your phone, like the Oculus app, and log into a Facebook account to then forward your text messages to the Meta app so that you can read your notifications, right? That's already kind of a thing. If you want to see notifications from your phone while you're using your Oculus headset, you have to kind of do this like pass-through thing where you're giving them your messages. And I don't think I want that, right? Like, I wouldn't want to give my text messages to Facebook, because that's who owns Meta. Because it's all one ecosystem, your text messages, your emails, all of that are all in that same ecosystem that you already own. So when you get a text message, it's going to show up on your headset. You put on Do Not Disturb on your phone, it's going to turn on Do Not Disturb on all of it because your focus is going to be the same. That's pretty neat. That's kind of the good and bad side of the walled garden. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay kind of being part of the Apple ecosystem, then the benefit is way more than almost any application, any other manufacturer has. The level of like integration that Apple has with its products is something that other companies want, but they also can't because not all of them manufacture their hardware and their software. So Microsoft has their Surface line, but they also have to provide support for their operating system that runs on other manufacturers' hardware. So again, everyone wants to be the Apple Pixel, the Pixel line, the Surface line for Microsoft, and then you've got everything Apple makes. So this is cool. I don't know what the future holds for it, but here's the next step, and here's the I'm not going to say this is a justification for the price because it's not. The starting price for this piece of tech is $3,499. That's it. It's a lot of freaking money. But Caleb, I think you're still in chat. Yeah, this is screaming Apple Watch edition all over again. If you remember when the Apple Watch first launched, you had the gold Apple Watch, the $10,000 Apple Watch that you could buy. And then the next year we got a new Apple Watch, and that one was now a paperweight, right? Like it still worked, but it didn't have all the new features. And there was no way to upgrade your $10,000 Apple Watch. It's now just a $10,000 piece of tech that is outdated. It's a piece of jewelry because it had like gold plating and all that kind of stuff. But outside of that, you didn't get anything else out of it. And with that in mind, I think this headset is I'm not even want to call it a luxury item. It is definitely made for a very specific set of people. One, the name is the Vision Pro, and they never launch a Pro product first unless they want to target it to a specific set of developers and a specific set of people. This sounds to me like this is the first version to get it into the hands of A, developers, B, big companies and corporations, make some things out of it. And in a year or so, we should get a Apple Vision SE, Apple Vision Air, and that will be at a entry-level price point, a price point that's a little more feasible for the normal public. Will it have maybe the same features? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they'll see features in this Pro that no one wanted. A lot of things, a lot of features, a lot of sensors that maybe are not being used or aren't being developed for. And then they can pull back that research and development. Here's the thing, folks. This product is interesting to me because it is this is a whole new product for Apple, a company that makes other products, but they're having to manufacture all of it themselves. As in, the screen on the inside is, from my understanding, is not a Samsung OLED. It is, I think it is being manufactured by the display company that Apple purchased years ago. All of the parts are not, none of the parts are off the shelf. A good example is if you are familiar with the Oculus, the first version of the Oculus, or the first like two versions of the Oculus, inside was essentially Samsung Note 4 screens, I think, Note 3 or 4 screens. You could literally take the Note 4 LCD and take apart your Oculus if it broke and replace the screen with a Samsung Note LCD. And that's because they were using off-the-shelf parts to kind of get things done. Apple's not doing that. I mean, the amount of sensors and little minute movements and things that are moving around in there. I mean, there are mechanics that are moving around in there because it's all sorts of little things that are kind of adjusting and moving and scanning and reading and whatever else to do all of this. And also, it is an M2 processor in there. This isn't a mobile phone. This is literally the same processor that they drop in their $1,000 laptop. So does that justify $3,500? No, absolutely not. It is a price point that is ridiculous, even for Apple standards, but I don't think this product is for us. This product is being shopped to consumers by showing you a regular consumer sitting there at a party or whatever wearing these, but it is not for the consumer. This is uh, this is definitely a an API toolkit piece of hardware with everything thrown at it. See what the developers can make, because not a single thing shown at this showcase was a third-party developer made app, because no one has it yet. No one has this outside of Apple. They have not given, and they usually do. If you're familiar with Apple products, in the new iPad, the new iPhone, if they're going to put a new feature in there that's very specific, they will give this new product to a developer months ahead to go ahead and make a new feature, or update your movie app, or update your camera app to work with this, so that you can then push, and then they will show them at the showcase. Dan, this is interesting. I don't know, man. I don't think maybe work, but this is definitely maybe a work from home thing. They are envisioning people as a work from home. They also, and again, that's a good point that you brought that up. They showed FaceTime working on this. And for the first part, when they showed, I'm like, how is FaceTime working? Are they seeing you with your headset on? How is anyone watching you on FaceTime seeing you? How does this work? That's where they kind of drop this persona thing. So you have this 3D uncanny valley scan of your face that is then projected in FaceTime, which is nuts to me. Like, from the people that use it, they said that it was okay, but they didn't get anyone to do it because they have to scan your face. But that's weird. I don't know who it's for. Again, like I said, this is totally throwing things at the wall and seeing if it sticks. People constantly say that Apple doesn't innovate anymore. Like, they're always like, they're copying, or they're always behind. Well, here we are. Here's a headset that people want to say is exactly like everyone else's headset, but it's not. It is not. The amount of tech that's in this thing is far beyond many of the manufacturers. That this is innovation. This is cool. But again, this isn't for us. And I wish they hadn't announced the price. If they hadn't announced the price and just said that it was going to be available for developers early, no one would be saying all the negative things that they are. But people think that this like $4,000 headset, or $3,500 headset is for the normal consumer. It is not. It's not. This isn't meant for your kid to play, Gorilla Tag on, or Chat VR. This is meant for industrial work, maybe, or like CAD work, or some sort of weirdness, or just in general, just for the developer to make apps, to make it a consumer product. But I think this version of it is not meant for the consumer. But they also know that they've got to put a product out there, so might as well make it the most expensive one and see what people do with it, and then kind of trim the fat. See what works, what doesn't, and then the next version will be better. That's what they did with the watch. The Series 0 versus the Series 1 was a big jump, and it only improved from there. So I don't know, man. They do. That's what they do. So the persona thing is, it removes the headset. It shows your face and your body, your mouth and your eyes and your nose moving without the headset on, because it is digitally reconstructing a 3D rendition of you. That's crazy. That's cool. I think Meta tried to show something like this at one point, but this is all being done within the headset. So that's what's cool. I don't know. It's an avatar of your entire torso, man. Like, you turn your head and it's everything. Because when you scan it, you use your iPhone or you use the camera on the 3D camera on the Vision when you first do the setup, and you grab it and you like scan your face and kind of go through the process of like choosing maybe a hairstyle or whatever else, and kind of getting it, tweaking it. It'll scan all of your, because Apple's had face scanning technology for a while now with Touch ID and the IR cameras that we've got here, right? Or if you haven't tried the AR scanning in a room, right, you can turn it on and kind of scan an entire room and get a full layout. And you're getting people with CAD scanning full-on rooms and getting pretty precise measurements of an entire room, all with things that are built into a phone. What do you think a $3,500 headset can do? I mean, again, I'm not justifying it, but I'm just saying the amount of tech in this thing is pretty crazy. So I don't know. So if everyone in the office is wearing these, no one is right. That's the thing, right? So the idea is like if let's say you had 5 people in a conference room and they're all wearing it, but they're not all in the conference room. Everyone is at home. The moment you all kind of coordinate and talk to each other, you would see each other without the headset. That's weird. Like everyone's just this digital avatar of themselves. Isn't that what we like? We're like Ready Player One. Like everyone's kind of a digital avatar of some sort. Like that's what this is. This is like the first step on that. Not saying that other people haven't done this. We've had digital avatars for years, but a physical scanned one live and being used, integrated into the operating system is kind of cool. I want one to work at work. If they're buying me, I can't even get my company. Yeah, I mean, again, I seriously think that this is not for you or for anyone in specific. This is for a lot of. This is not for. I don't think the amount of headsets produced at that price point are going to be a thing. I don't know. I don't know who it's for, but I can tell you the tech that's in it is ridiculously high end, and I'm happy that it exists. I'm just not happy at the price point because I want it now. I want it. Stadium, you sent me a video, and yet you're right, and I want to talk about this because this is interesting that you shared this. I did see this. With Apple's got a new porting toolkit. So again, they're pushing gaming. This is things that they don't talk about at their big event, but it's a way for you to port a game that doesn't belong in your ecosystem and work on a Mac. So the newest version of their porting software, their toolkit from the SDK from the new WWDC is out, and someone ran it on Cyberpunk. Now here's a game that takes pretty high in horsepower, an M1 MacBook Pro, not it's running on Ultra. This is on a base M1, if I'm not mistaken, or an M1 Pro, not an M1 Ultra. I'm not sure, but essentially it's running in whiskey. This is their So this is their port. Anywho, my point is this is running on an M1 MacBook, and yes, it's not high frame rate. This isn't high end in any way, but this is running on Ultra settings. That shouldn't happen. Like this should not happen. Let me bring it up on screen, share screen. Doop, doop, boop. Add to stream. There we go. It's not playing nice. So let's see if we can. I mean, impressively, whether that's impressive or not is irrelevant. It's 41 seconds of them running it, but essentially it's all running in Ultra settings. And it's being rendered through Rosetta. So if you see here, see if I can pull this up on full screen. Boom. So if you see here up here, it's running the M1 at 1440 by 900 at 60 hertz. It's only got 16 gigs of memory. It's an M1. Again, this is no dedicated GPU. This is only the GPU built into the M1. So this is running an M2, right? But essentially, you can see right here, Rosetta x86 64. This is running it, so it's a translation layer of Direct 3D. No, it's an M1. No, it is an M1. According to the tweet, Apple's new game porting toolkit is fantastic. Here's Cyberpunk 2077 running at Ultra on an M1 MacBook Pro with 16 gigs. So not even an M2. This is a chip from a few years ago. Now, 2 years ago. So yeah, that's impressive. That's the power of the M1. And again, the TDP is very low, and it can run it. And again, this is like, again, translation layer. So that's really cool and really powerful. That's impressive horsepower on and you're getting an M2 in the headset. So what can this headset do, man? Like, I guess that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited to see the next showcase with it. And maybe Apple by then will go, hey, we heard your feedback or whatever, or hey, we're getting a new headset coming soon, or I don't know. They will adjust it. They know this price is high, even for Apple standards. It's exciting. Again, I could talk about it for a while because I've really enjoyed some of the coverage on it. I really want to get my hands on it. I like my Oculus. I don't use it as much as I should, but if it was in the Apple ecosystem, I would probably like it more. Only because sometimes I find myself, I want to just sit back and consume some of my media. Open up my iTunes movies that I already own in 4K, which I can do, I guess, if I'm using movies anywhere and open up like Prime or something like that. Or open up my iTunes library, my Apple Music library. Look at my photos that are sitting on the iCloud. Take a picture with my phone and see it, or edit something, or again, go see these features. One of the cool features is you just look at your Mac. You have it on your headset. You look at your Mac and you go connect, and it basically boop, and it pulls up the entire desktop of your Mac open just by you looking at your Mac. Basically, it just connects to it and you look at it, and all of a sudden your desktop shows up. I mean, there's nothing revolutionary. You could just turn on an app, and if you've got the app running on, but this is baked into the operating system, right? Like it's already there. There's no extra software, no extra thing you have to install, no third-party app. It just, you look at your Mac and you go, I want to connect to it and start working on it. And boom, and all of a sudden you can open up multiple displays for your Mac with this device, and also use this device's horsepower to do everything else. Like, that's crazy. Like that's cool. I don't know. I think Apple just showed you kind of a broad stroke of what you can do with it. It's up to really other developers to kind of do it. Probably a bad idea. Apple uses a lot of AI language. They've been using AI language for years, machine learning and they used it a lot. I have to go back and look at what language they use, but there's a couple of things that they said. Like, for example, their new auto correct engine, the modules, the learning that they're talking about, that it's just AI. That they're just using an AI model now to do the autocorrect, but they're not saying AI. They're not saying it's running through an AI model. They're using specific terminology within the AI environment, but not saying AI, only because they want to keep it their lexicon, their language. Siri's dumb. It has been dumb for a while, but this might be the way to kind of get it to be smarter with adding more models within itself, making the models run on device, because that's the only way to get it. That's, again, Siri's dumb because it's not connected to a cloud mining your information, which is double-edged sword, right? Amazon is great. Saying the A word, which I don't want to say because saying her name will call upon her thunder. But my point is every time you use it, it knows, and it keeps track of all of that, and it aggregates all this information. It knows that, everyone at 8 o'clock is doing this. All of a sudden, that's how it becomes smarter. That's how the Amazon one is so smart. That's why the Google one is so smart, because you are the product. And Siri has been very locked down for many years. So that's important. Look, I said her name because I'm running the newest version. It started because you don't have to say the hey part anymore. Anywho, folks, that's it. I could go on and on about Apple and this keynote. It's exciting. I enjoy the tech side of it all. Like I said, I use the products quite a bit and enjoy them, but the headset has me pondering what the next step is, pondering what the next, what Oculus and Meta and all them can do, find a way to make their ecosystem a lot more friendly. But it's kind of hard, right? Because this is my consumable and capture of media and entertainment. I take all my pictures with this. So this is what I use. So they're not going to get access to this. I'm not going to give them access to my text messages. So that is probably the reason why I will probably have an Apple headset at some point in the future. Because if I want to still play some of these VR games, which will get ported because Apple is Apple and Apple has that clout, right? That's the big exciting part about it, is that now Apple has their name in the ring, which means that other companies will want to do it, which means that it'll drive innovation within Google and all the other ones. So that's good. But also, we're going to get some segregation in the market. Anywho, folks, thank you so much. How long before it uses eye tracing? Well, I don't know, right? So it already has the eye tracking. I mean, you have to look at it. It knows when you're looking at it, or it won't unlock. So when will be the next one? I don't know. But everyone wants a smaller notch, right? So unless they make that notch smaller and still have more eye tracking, I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know. We'll see. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an hour and a half. I've been gone quite a bit, but I appreciate everyone for joining me on this rant / talk / very biased, obviously, love letter almost to Apple and Apple products, even though I am going to still stay critical with them. Don't buy this product. Don't buy it. Don't pre-order it. Don't do it. It's too much money right now. Wait for the next one. Let suckers, people like enthusiasts buy it and fix it and make new features for it, and then make the lower end model better than the first gen. That's kind of the nature of it, right? Apple's been that way for years, but it's exciting. It's exciting times. I'm glad that Google Eye existed, because Oculus Quest runs because Google Glass walked. I don't know. What's the saying there? Google Glass was the first of its kind, and Google killed it because people didn't like its like weirdness, like having a camera facing at everybody. But at least this is something that I don't see anyone walking around the streets of like your city with. I just can't imagine everyone walking around with a giant Apple Vision Pro. I mean, they showed people like at parties with this thing on, but I can't. That's impossible. It's not social. This is meant for someone that's sitting at home on the couch alone with their Tostino's pizza in the oven and single. Because if I'm with my wife or my partner, you're not going to put on your headset and like isolate from them unless they have one, and then I guess you can just meet in the virtual world together. I don't know. It's weird, but if everyone wears it, that's right. That's right. If everyone wears it, folks. Thank you so much. Google Glass walks so that Apple can run. Yeah, but Apple isn't running yet. I think that's where Quest 2 can run, and Quest 2 ran so that Apple could sprint. Because at this point, what they're doing is they've looked at what all of Oculus has done for years, and they are just jumping on board of what worked and what didn't work and going from there. So that's what's cool. It's like the next generation of all of this without them having to do Gen 1, because they let Oculus and everyone else do Gen 1. That's how Apple's worked for years, right? I keep saying it. They see a feature, and even though it's been out for years, they tend to make it, and advertise it, and market it, and call it Retina display, and all of a sudden it's like better, right? All right, folks, that's Apple for you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you spending your Wednesday night with me. Again, maybe next week Pedro will show up. He never texts me back. Maybe he's sick. I will have to find out. Go poke him, everyone. Join our Discord. You can hop on and pester us there. Join our Discord. You can see the link at mid-geekcrisis.com. There, join us every Wednesday night. Like, subscribe. Just hit that plus or whatever on YouTube if you can. At the same time, I appreciate everyone just being here, hanging out with me, because it's fun to talk to like-minded individuals. Capitalism, baby, it's killing us. Thank you so much. If you're in the New York area, put a gas mask on. If not, the gas is coming towards us. It's the apocalypse. I blame Google Glass for this. I blame it for everything. Thank you so much. Have a good one, folks. Take care. Be kind. Another episode in the can.